Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Drop Off. I'm your host, J.Love, and this week I got a super dope guest for y'all. His name is Thighman, super vet driver, been here 28 years, and he's coming down to bless us with some of his time and drop some gems and wisdom for you guys, man. And, hopefully you guys enjoy this conversation just as much as I did. As long as I've known Al, it seems every time I talk to him, I learn something new. So hopefully when you guys listen, maybe you guys will, learn something too. And then also, man, just get to hear from a super interesting guy, man, who has, done a lot of things in life, man. He's traveled. He's, taught a lot of people how to be successful at UPS, man. And he's a good friend of mine, man. And hopefully you guys dig the conversation, man. And without further ado, man, let's get into it, man. And once again, thanks for supporting the show, man. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And I'm somebody that y'all want to rock with and keep coming back to listen to, man. Without further ado, let's get to it, man. The Drop Off.
Loud and clear.
Boom. All right, Al. Man, thank you for pulling up today.
My man.
I appreciate it. It's about time. Everybody has heard your name 100 times on this show already. So now y'all get to hear from the man himself. All right, Al?
Shit. All right.
Al, let's go.
All right.
So, like I was telling you before we started the show,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something different, all right? It's going to be not a new show, but things added, okay? So the first thing I do want to ask you is, who did Al think he was going to be when he grew up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely didn't think I was going to be a UPS driver.
I don't think anybody who was a UPS driver thought that's what they were going to end up doing.
Let's start there. I think I was always into art. I was into music. So I think maybe entertainment, art or entertainment.
But what part of entertainment?
I never really seen a clear vision. I just seen some money and some artistic expression, I guess, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to ask you, because I know we've talked about graphic design a little bit.
Yep.
So where did that curiosity come from? Where did that interest come from?
I think when I was younger, I had a older cousin that drew really well, and it was mostly like figures, characters. So I started drawing and got into that, the characters, and so I think that was the beginning. I think I got a little bit further into it in my late teens, in my early 20s. Just putting stuff together like you're doing right now. I did parties, I did T-shirts, I did different little things that really kind of brought me back to it because I had left it from the time when I started when I was younger. Came back to it, and then it was a twist to it. I was just really just drawing and painting before. So once you get to the other side, the graphic, once you get putting products together, you're designing and now, having to apply it. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me to the graphic design. And I really didn't see myself, retiring from UPS. I thought at that point, this was like in my 20s, early 20s, I thought that, I would be doing something else with that. So.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. My first 2 years of high school, I took a calligraphy class.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people who don't draw don't know how difficult that is.
Okay.
Like knowing how to really professionally draw is a task. It's a whole lot to it. People probably never heard of you. If you've never taken an art class, you've never probably heard of the push-pull method.
Right.
There's an art to the art, right. Basically, right? So whenever I hear that somebody draws or, is into that, I'm interested, like, hey, did you ever take a class about it, or did you just, naturally just start drawing stuff and get good at it?
I think I had a natural talent, because some of the things that you do learn, there is methods and ways about going about it. I think I always saw shapes, which is really, what drawing is about, and then just refining them. So I think I always had an innate understanding about drawing, but definitely it confirmed some things, and then also taught me things to, help me grow and get better.
Okay. So before you became a UPS driver, where exactly were you at in life? Like, meaning, like, what job were you doing before? Where was your mindset at before? Because a lot of people, like me, for instance, I was thinking I'm about to go play pro basketball thing, right? So I'm not thinking in terms of, let's go ahead and get into the corporate thing. I'm more young-minded still. I'm like, hey, man, I'm still young. I could do whatever. Yeah. And then, like me, you and the boys talk about sometimes that have kids, and we talk about our kids. You're going to get out in the world, and then it's going to slap you in the face, and then you're going to have a realization that, okay, well, there's going to have to be some adjustments made. So were you in a place where you were like, okay, there's about to have to be some adjustments made from what I'm doing at the moment?
I think so. I came... At about 15, we moved from Minneapolis to New York. I spent basically like 9-10 months out there before ending up coming out to Vegas. So basically, I started my junior year in high school out here.
Okay.
Because of the different things that were going on as far as moving and the movement parts of my life, then I was kind of like right there on the edge of being caught up with my schooling. I was able to accomplish that and, be able to graduate. I was a little behind, but I was able to catch up and graduate. And I think at that time I was hustling a little. I was hanging out, man, kicking it. And I think once I graduated, which I didn't expect to, I think that sparked something in me, a change, and I decided, what was the next logical step? I enrolled at community college.
Okay.
And so when I enrolled at community college, they had a job fair. It was Millie Washington was the HR person at that time, and that was I applied for that. Ended up getting a part-time job, and that absolutely started the trajectory for UPS.
Two things.
Okay.
Well, number one, Millie Washington is a name I've never heard. It's probably only going to be a select group of people who hear this, who even know who that is.
For sure.
And then, are you an undercover Giants fan? Because I didn't know that you went from Minnesota to New York.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, first of all, what part of New York?
Manhattan.
Oh.
Yeah.
The nice part. Okay.
Yeah. That was my mom was moving with her significant other, her fiance at that time. It wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do. I didn't really have a choice in the matter, but that was a big eye-opening experience that opened up my world. We were talking about the traveling a little bit, and the Big Apple is big, man. When they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, then I understand why.
So I've never got to ask anybody who's actually spent time in New York about what you just said right there. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I heard Jay-Z say it in 100 songs.
Yeah.
Why is that? What's so different about New York than, say, trying to make it somewhere else?
I think the density or the population, I mean, there's no, everything's moving at the speed of light. There's no space, there's no time. There's so many people trying to do so many things, and the same thing. I mean, you really gotta be trying to get it. Like nothing's gonna come to you. Okay. I think it's basically what they're saying. Like there's not a chance in hell if you sitting around with your hand out. Even the people that are homeless, they know how to play the drums. They know how to do things to attract money to themselves. It's not no laying there. I think maybe that's the first time I started seeing people with the why lie, I need a beer signs. I mean, just everything, So I think that's what they're saying.
That's super interesting. Even the homeless have a talent.
They got to have something because that dollar is going somewhere. It's only so many dollars to go around, and it's so many people trying to get that dollar.
Okay. So I do want to ask you, right? I want to ask you about. I had somebody ask me one time, right? We were talking about, he was asking me about my journey before I became a UPS driver. Okay. And he had asked me, because, he knew a little bit about my athletic past.
Right.
And he asked me if I had, like, any type of resentment or if I, like, regretted not following through. Basically, if I was disappointed in my landing spot. And I had never been asked that question before.
Yeah.
And because, he said, well, because we were talking about like the people who are in the NBA playing that like I know really well.
Yep.
And he was like, well, when you see him on TV, do you like feel bad that you didn't get there? Do you feel like upset that you didn't accomplish your original dream and stuff like that? And I had to, like really think about that for a second. I was like, man, I've never really been asked that. And not really. Because I ended up in a really, really good place where, like, if I went and played basketball overseas, I'm making the same money I'm doing right now. And I'm not, I wouldn't be somewhere in a foreign country by myself. I'm here. I got my family here. Right. So, so same question to you. So how do you feel about the results of where you ended up landing?
I think I feel the same way as you. I think everything happens for a reason. I can't really imagine another path, and I don't spend much time thinking about what coulda or shoulda been or woulda. I think what is, and I'm happy. I think we're both able to say that, obviously, because we're a certain level of happiness and satisfaction with where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're able to say that if you're unsatisfied with where today is. But yeah, I wouldn't really change anything. I am happy, and I think sometimes opportunities that surface or that pass away, we never know in the moment. I think in hindsight, then we're like, oh, this made sense why this happened at this time. When you're in the moment trying to figure it out, I don't think it's very clear.
Right. That you live life forwards and understand it backwards. That is a real thing.
Yeah.
Because I look at my life, and a lot of the times I'll look at something and I'll be like, man, I'm glad certain things didn't happen a certain way, because my life could have definitely went in a different direction, and who's to say that I wouldn't be as comfortable as I am right now. I wouldn't be as intelligent as I am right now. I wouldn't have the group of guys that I'm around right now. My influences would be different. So definitely, we definitely share the same perception of that, man. I'm actually very happy where I ended up, man. And I think that's a blessing, man, because a lot of people, like, for example, people who do this job and then, like, they get fired for some reason or they quit for some reason. And then some of the people you see later on, not everybody, but sometimes you see people later on and you talk to them and they're like, oh, man, I wish I would have stuck in there or hung in there, right? Yeah. So, okay, that's good. Okay, so now I want to know about some of the people that you've met along the way. For example, like whether it be somebody who helped you when you first started the job, somebody who, well, both of those. Somebody who helped you when you first started, and then some of the guys that have you've met at this job that have become to be your boys now.
Man, that's a long journey, because now it's been 28 years, and that's a lot to...
Whew, people, y'all hear that? 28 years.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about it. I was just telling you, man, it's tough, trying to remember everything. But I think it starts... first of all, I got to say that I'm thankful, because I have people from then until now that have continued to have made an impact and continue to make an impact. That's a blessing in itself, and I think I heard it mentioned on here before. It is a fraternity. It is a group of people. There's no, you need a strong mind. You need a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of character to do this job, know, and I think they do hire well. I guess, sometimes. For sure. But I think starting with Millie, That was she helped a lot of people around the time when I was starting and a little bit before that we know now get in. And I mean, I think she helped diversify things a little bit, played a significant role in helping UPS diversify. I think some of the earliest people I remember, of course, Booker, Kenny Banks, Don Batiste, Broderick Tatum. I think these people stick out because they each taught me something that I carry with me throughout my journey, whether it's finance or keeping your health, walking out of here upright, or just the aspect, the nature of it being a game.
Okay.
It's impossible for me to name everyone. So
yeah, no. Everybody struggles with that when they come on here.
I don't want to try that, but those are three people that stick out immediately. And then Ed is my good buddy as well, Ed Sutton. I know you guys mentioned him. And as far as having the attitude about being a professional and doing the job, I absolutely took that from him. And then, I got my contemporaries, I guess, Smitty, Sean, Jess, Crystal, Mont, I think, it's so many others, but it's just immediate people. And then now I'm getting into like the later phase with you or Alan. I don't know where everyone falls in the seniority. It's kind of like the people that are with you, you got a better idea once they get younger. I heard you, just check some people like, man, hold on, I'm here. Yep.
I had to let them know.
Yeah. So Mike Peterson, Christian, I enjoy you guys, man. And it's you guys are still offering me something, even though I'm a senior guy at the job. Like you guys are offering me a lot, just as far as still having interest and still kind of staying young-hearted and young-minded.
Right. And, I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. The reason that's a question that I'm going to always ask every guest is because for the new guys who ever do listen to this, like you said, you've been doing this for 28 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you said you can't name all the people who have had an impact on helping you, like with your longevity and basically just helping you keep your mind and physical together while you're here. Yeah. I think, when I do say like it's a fraternity here, that's a super powerful statement.
For sure. Because
when the guys come in here and then they struggle, they'll really understand, especially if they hear from somebody who's been here for 28 years, like it's the village is keeping everybody together.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also you said something important. One thing important and one thing very interesting. So the important thing was I've always left out Hilda and LaToya. Okay. Like whenever I talk about, I never thought about that, like how important HR was for me when I first got here.
Right.
And so, ladies, I apologize because you guys have definitely been very important to me in my journey into this place. So I remember there was a couple times when I was out on the road and I was struggling, and before I called Donald or Deshaun or Mike Peterson, I would call LaToya.
Right.
Like, hey, LaToya, I don't know all the rules yet, but hey, if I think I'm going crazy right now and I'm struggling, what are my rights? I don't even know what my rights are as as an employee here.
Right.
And she would talk to me and give me things you wouldn't get unless you talked to an HR person or somebody who really, really knows the book on the do's and don'ts, what you can say, what you can't say, what you can do, what you can do and can't do.
Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting.
That was smart.
So then, the interesting thing is, you said diversify.
Yeah.
So, because that's interesting, because when I first started driving, first of all, when I first came to Red Rock, I just seen a bunch of brothers.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that in a place of employment ever.
Right.
So, I'll just see a sea of brothers when I come in there. And then when I remember coming in, I remember Donald I don't know whether he did it intentionally or it was on accident, but I think it was intentional. Like he brought all the young brothers with him.
Yeah.
Like because I was with him from his transition from South Building Preload to Red Rock Center Manager,
right.
And he just took all of us with him and made all of us worked. Make sure all of us worked out. So what was the scenery before you said like Millie, helped diversify? What did it look like?
I mean, I could just speak from me coming in there through the door. But it definitely wasn't this way. I don't have any statistics or anything.
But it was different.
but absolutely, it wasn't like it is now. I don't think there were any black center managers. I think, or Hispanic. I think all of that was, it just started coming since I've been there. And then as far as the workforce, whether it's women, I mean, there were people there, but I think it really made a significant change since I came through the door, and I always looked at it and credited Millie with that in my mind.
Okay, because for me, I would have never known because as soon as I got in there, we got a black center manager, we got white district managers, we got Hispanic driver supervisors. So as soon as I get in there, everybody is there. There's not like nobody sticking out like a sore thumb.
Right.
Like you got every single group of people in there.
It's on now.
Yeah, man. It's like a huge, tremendous family.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do want to ask you, throughout your 28 years here, what have been like the motivating factors? Because to do anything for a long period of time, you have to find something has to keep you motivated. Like I was telling last time me and Taurus talked. Me, Taurus, and Wilborn. Taurus was talking about how, after being a barber for 19 years, he just like lost the passion.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, bro, I relate to that, man, because, after 17, 18 years of playing, competitive sports, I'm like, dude, I'm tired of running. Like the passion isn't there anymore. So what have been some motivating factors for you?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think it changes over the course. I think it has to change. Well, for me, it had to. Initially, it was just something to do. Of course, when you back then you went full time quicker. You topped out quicker. So I think I was just I thought I was still in going to school. I was doing little things. Entrepreneurial things, and I thought, some of those things would take off. So at that time, in my mind, it was, supplementing or providing a base for income and investment.
Okay.
I think, I did go to the Art Institute. I was 2 years into a 3-year program. So, I think, and this was in my late 20s. So I think all that time I just thought I was just making my way through to a transition, and I didn't get started. Basically that came to a head because I started getting into my advanced classes, and it just wasn't fitting with the UPS schedule. It's like no way and no how. The availability was far and few between, and it just wouldn't work. They were working with me for the first 2 years, but then, it got to a point where it just wasn't realistic, and I said, either I'm going to leave UPS or I'm going to have to come revisit this. And, by that time, obviously I made the decision to stick it out with UPS. So I think after that, I started, it's right around the time when I was meeting my wife, my now wife, obviously, not then. And this was still kind of late 20s, early 30s. So I think, once I started going that direction, I think, the family aspect of things. And then also, I did, from the time I came in the door, people were, the OGs and the people that I mentioned, they were putting it on my mind about putting money aside and thinking about what to do with your money and how to make it work. So, that's something that I started like really small in the beginning, and then you start to see that work out. So then you're getting to the point. I'm sorry about that.
You are.
You get to the point where you start it starts, the things that you have done start showing, you reaping the rewards and the benefits. So then it's kind of making sense. You're like, oh, I want to get into this a little further. So, that was a motivation. And then, the family, turned out to be like even the highest motivation, because then it's like, thinking about myself and then thinking more, of more than myself and the others, that I'm responsible for, and, trying to lay a strong foundation for.
Right. And I definitely understand that, because I had my son when I was 25.
Okay.
So I remember the news of about me, hey, J.Love, you're about to become a father.
Right.
I remember that being, something happens, man, when you have a kid, I think. I won't say it happens for everybody. Right. But I think for a good amount of people, especially as a man, when you figure out, okay, I'm about to be responsible for, a kid now, it like causes some type of evolution. It's like a snap evolution that happens to you. And I remember that being like such a switch being turned on in my mind. Like, okay, everything must go right now. Like, everything must be pushed and moved in the right direction, because, man, I don't even know. And that's why it's crazy, because I don't even have a word for it. I don't know how to put it into any type of sentence or phrase. But there is something that happens when you're about to be a father where you're just on automatic go now. Success must happen now. And then it doesn't taper off. Right. That's so as far as like being a continuous motivation factor, like while I've been doing this job, like, I'm about to we're in year 11 now. Yeah. So it's every day I'm like, all right, man, you got this little boy to take care of, man. Like, you got this example that you need to set every day. So you don't want to go to work, but so you better go. You don't. I'm tired of having to work these hours. So you gotta do it.
Yeah. I think it's like, I can't really put it into words, but it's bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. I think, when we're thinking about ourselves, and, it's easy to, take your foot off the brake, off the pedal. But I think when it's bigger than you, then you're like, man, even when you want to take your foot off the pedal, like, you can't, almost, Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, it's not for everybody, but if it's in you, then that switch it's definitely going to get hit. And like you said, man, it's no complacency. There's no, there's no waiting. You just you get into it, and with a purpose. I think we all as people, as men, for sure. I think you need a purpose, and what greater purpose is there?
Right. So, okay, now we let's get to some good stuff, man. Okay. Because you mentioned, right, people teaching you about money when you got in here, right? So, money was something I was interested in before. When I say money, I'm talking about like investment vehicles and just learning the culture and mindset around money. That was always something I was interested in, right? But something that you learn when you eventually venture off and start trying to make moves in that arena is you realize, hey, I need some money though, right? Yeah. So I remember going through like phases mentally before I started this job where it was like, okay, I'm really focused. I'm trying to learn as much as possible. And then you step out to go try to do something. But, hey, I'm working at Walmart right now. Right. Or, hey, I'm working at Home Depot, which is where I met Crystal Barrera. Okay. So I knew her before I started this job. Okay. She was actually my first supervisor of the first job I ever had. Wow. So I remember like educating myself about finance and then wanting to go try something, and then like, hey man, you don't have enough money to actually do something. So then starting this job and then becoming a UPS driver, and the checks are like clockwork every Friday, man. Every Friday you get a good number. Yeah. So then after compounding that for however long you want to say, right? Yeah. Then it starts to become a situation where, okay, well now when I step out to go do these things, oh, well, I got some money to actually go, like, try some stuff, right? So what were some of the financial things that you heard about or were taught while you were in here that have worked?
Yeah, for sure. And I think what works, some of it is just the way that money works. And then, obviously there's individual things that we get into. I think the first things was always 401k and stock, and then saving 10%. Same things like the richest man in Babylon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just general principle things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. If you've never heard of that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, that is a good starting point.
Absolutely.
For anybody trying to learn the basics, the absolute basics, right? Sure. So, me and you, we go back and forth about things we read. Right. People have heard me say that. So now you guys get to hear the man who be putting me on books right now.
And vice versa.
So one of the books I was telling you about the other day is a book called Die with Zero. Right. It's by, what's his name? I got his name on here somewhere. I want to shout you out, dog. Where you at? Bill Perkins. That's his name. Okay. So in this book, Bill has a lot of good, I don't want to say like good tips and notes, even though that's in there too. But reading this book, it like changed my perception over what to do over like through longevity with money, right?
Yeah.
And I want to point something out that you said. The very first thing that I learned and got a grasp on was saving money.
Yes. Which
is, people hear it all the time. People, a random person on the corner or you meet in a store will tell you, hey, young man, save your money. That's actually one of the best pieces of advice you could ever have is learn how to save your money. Absolutely. Right? So one of the key takeaways that I learned from this book, right? Because you just mentioned like investing in like 401k and stock.
Yeah.
But in his book, he's talking about how one of the main things to invest in is experiences, and I never heard that before until I read this book, right? And he was talking about his story was he was in college, and then as soon as he graduated from college, he got like a small like junior partner job on in Wall Street somewhere, and he wasn't really making any money. He was like living paycheck to paycheck and stuff, right? So he had took all the money that he had saved, I think it was like 10 grand or something like that. And rather than like all his friends were like investing it into like, certain stocks or ETFs or things like that. And he took his $10,000 and he just went and traveled with it, right?
Okay.
And he talked about the impact over making that investment to go spend his money to go invest in experiences in his life that ended up paying tremendous dividends for him later on in life. Right. And so I got to explain a little bit more. Okay. So his point was, the older you get, like, say, 70, 80 years old, where your real value is in the memories that you've created throughout the time of your life where you were mobile and able to go do things.
Right.
And he was saying that because he was only like, he was in his early 20s, mid 20s when he invested that $10,000 to go get experiences.
Right.
And, being financially educated, he knew he had time to save and put his savings in good investment vehicles to where he would still be okay as he aged, and by the time he got to the point to where he shut it down and wasn't working anymore. Because he went around and he interviewed people, right, about like what are the regrets that they had as they got older.
Right.
And he was interviewing people with a lot of money, and every single one of these people were saying, man, I have all this money, but I didn't invest in experiences in my life because now I'm older and I can't go to Turkey, I can't go to Istanbul, I can't go to Russia, I can't go to all these places because I'm immobile now. I don't have my same vigor, right? So I know you as a person who invests in experiences,
right?
So how was that? How do you see that already like paying dividends for you?
Yeah, that's there's so much to unpack, and I think one thing that stands out is investing in yourself and your experiences. kind of goes to the, it's not about the car, it's about the person in it. You know, just meaning that, like, your experiences that they lend you to be in any situation and be a person of, you know, to be able to have a conversation that's striking, or to be able to contribute. You know, your experiences allow you to walk in a room and be taken a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you don't have any experiences, then, you know, you kind of lost in that sense. And I think people are, I think relationships are the real currency. You know, if you see people that's trying to get, there's always a internship to any career. He's talking about financial and
Mm-hmm.
wherever the point is what they're doing that. I was doing graphic design. There's always an internship where you're learning. You don't have much money. You're learning. You're perfecting your game or honing your craft. You're working towards getting better. You go through experiences, and now you're at a level where you're, you know, well, you kind of mastered or you mastered something, and now you can command a certain amount of money from your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're paying you for. The people that are top in their field, they have experience. And I know it's kind of like twofold. We're kind of talking about like life experience, but it works the same way with actual experience or career experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, to the example that you gave, I didn't, honestly, there was a point in life where I didn't expect to be 21, you know? So that's why it resonates with me. I think you got to have a balance. I don't think you could, you know, blow it all today. I think saving is a foundation for if you plan to have some success, there has to be something there for you to draw from,
Mm-hmm.
like you said. But at the same time, waiting for tomorrow, man, is not promised. That's one thing we know is a fact. So I think it's important if it strikes your spirit, if it means something to you, I think absolutely you have to get that experience in you, and that's if you get the money, that's what you're going to do. You're going to go get that experience that you know, that's the real payoff.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's important. I think that's absolute. I don't have a problem with what he said at all.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about that, man. Because all my traveling was done like early in life, and I've still never been out the country.
Yeah.
But I've hit a good part of the United States, though.
Yeah.
But as far as like, you know, leaving, going, experiencing like real different cultures, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's always like interesting, especially doing this job, when like, you know, you're delivering a package and then the person is from Panama.
Yep.
And then you talk to them and then they tell you about, you know, their life in Panama. And you're like, oh man, that's dope. I would love to go see what that's like in real life.
Yeah.
And then also you made a really good point that it is always interesting, right? The dude who's traveled or the woman who's traveled is always like the Dos Equis man. That is always like the most interesting person in the room. Yeah. They always have great stories. Yeah. They always have really deep, intricate, like perceptions of themselves in life. They always have they're always very nuanced. Yeah. They always have real global perceptions of everything. Right. And you usually, myself, just speaking for myself, I usually always learn a lot. Right. From somebody who's, you know, been outside the country, somebody who's traveled and got to experience different cultures. Yeah. So I think that might be why you are the most interesting man at UPS, because you've been everywhere. So what I do want to ask you, so what of all the places that you've been, also name a few, but where have you gone where you've maybe been like, you know, after I shut it down, I could actually see myself like, you know, booting up here. Yeah,
I think the last place that I've been was Belize, and that was the place where I said, you know, if I end up in a certain predicament, man, that I could see myself here, you know, the rest of my days.
Why so Belize?
I think just the simpleness of it. Obviously, the climate and you know. The landscape, yeah, it's just something when I'm there. I went swimming with the sharks. That's the place where they got the biggest coral reef, or the second biggest coral reef. I love water. It's always been like the beach vacations. I think that's how I started, with anything, even early as going to South Beach, or California. I love to be on the beach. So, I think that's where I started my travels, was all like beach destinations. And so that's a big part. Like, my buddy always, one of my close buddies, man, Ron, he always give me a hard time saying, man, if you had your way, then I know I could find you a dead man floating in, some clear water. You know what I'm saying? I think, and that's something I love to do, just be in the water, just float and look up at the sky. I think in some of these areas, the sky looks so much closer. The clouds, it look like you literally reach out and touch them. And, the clear water, the different life, marine life or whatever. But, I think it's just the culture, the location, and the peacefulness, the simpleness, the peacefulness of it is why I see myself there.
Okay. What made you get in the water with sharks?
That's a good question. And it's not nothing that I ever saw myself doing before I actually did it. We were there, and it is a big tourist attraction. Usually you just take a boat out there. You don't have to decide to get in or not. So I went out there with a group of people, some close friends, about 6 or 7 of us. Everyone did not get in. Actually,
I would imagine everybody. Some people was like, no.
Yeah. So what it is, they take you out, and then they kind of like lodge in an area where you kind of get out, and there's it's almost you can stand, and you kind of just get you familiar with the surroundings. And these aren't like sharks. These aren't like great whites. It's not, the nature of sharks is a lot different than what we think. But definitely there are different sharks that are less. And these are all animals that are used to
people. Okay.
This particular
It's a big
place.
factor.
So I still wasn't, I got off and I seen a couple things, some fish. I can't name all of them. But it's unfamiliar fish, and I'm like, okay, I'm snorkeling, kind of getting used to that. I'm like, okay, I spent about 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, let me get back in. And so now they're going to but in this place, there's a couple of these sharks, and I think it's like nurse sharks or bull sharks. It's particular ones. They're not really bigger than us.
Okay, I know it ain't a bull shark because bull sharks would have bit your ass.
Okay, yeah.
So it's probably a nurse shark.
Yeah.
I watched the shit out of Shark Week.
Okay. Yeah.
No, bull sharks are murderers.
Yeah. So no, you kind of see them, and everything in the water. One thing that's comforting, everything in the water is like coming towards you, but nothing's touching you. Like they're making sure they don't touch you. So it's not there's not that interest. But the thing was, I wasn't going to get out, but we're on the boat with a family of, it's like a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, or a 12-year-old. Like there's 3 kids that are around this age, in this range, and they get in. And I'm just like, man, experience. You know what I'm saying? Once again, I'm like, okay, man, if these kids could get in here, and it's like, man, we got a tour guide, and I guess I was feeling frisky, man. It's, I'm on the edge of the world and just feeling adventurous, I guess. But once I got in, I think the rewarding part was once we go on the tour, the snorkeling tour, the textures and the colors of this place is like something I would have never seen anywhere, and it was incredible.
Okay.
It made it all worth it. Like once I did do it, the more comfortable you get, the longer you're in there. But when I seen, what this particular place had to offer, I mean, it was for me.
Okay. Because I'm definitely, that's like part of my plan is when I start traveling is to go see where I want to end up hanging it up.
Yeah.
Because I know I got a really good feeling that I think once I put down the UPS thing,
yeah.
I think I'm trying to live abroad somewhere. I'm trying to learn another language.
Man.
And just like immerse myself in another culture and
Yeah.
like be there for 6 months out the year.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a dude, his name is what is his name? Max Kaiser. And he lives in the northern hemisphere for when the weather's nice, and then he moves to the southern hemisphere when the weather switches up.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that, like, man, that is a tremendous way to do it, just being great weather, like, year round.
It's fascinating because you got a choice. To that point, part of the reason I came out to Vegas is my mom had, trying to kind of get me away from my circumstance, and she had sent me out probably the Christmas before we went to New York. And, I was just too young and too short-sighted. I was like, nah, I want to be where I'm at. We're doing what I'm doing. But when we got back from New York and I decided to come, I remember my stepfather, who I came out here with, came and picked me up from the airport, and this had to be like December or January. And he had the sunroof open, and they picked me up and took the strip back to like Sahara and then kind of shot up. But it's like, I'm leaving basically the tundra, and now here I am riding down the strip, man, with, the sunroof down and the weather. And I was just like, man, it struck me. I was like, next time I talked to my mom, I said, why did we ever move to Minnesota? Why we ever move? It's so cold. And I thought everywhere was like that. I thought it was 4 seasons everywhere. So I'm like, that was a crazy decision. But to your point, like that would be so dope to be able to just change the weather by moving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to do that, man. That is definitely a goal of mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to move on, but still in like the topic of finance a little bit, right? This is what I did, Al. So check this out. So when I first started the job, right? Everybody tells you, you should. 2 things you always hear: buy stock and make sure you invest in your 401k.
Right.
Okay. So I didn't do the stock thing, but of course I did the 401k thing, right?
Okay.
And I did it for a certain amount of years, and then for the last couple of years I stopped, right? Because I wanted to take the money that, I had a decent amount of money in there. So now I was like, okay, well, like I was saying before, now let me try to do some other things on my own, right? So I have learned the importance, right? And I think it would be important for people who listen to this to hear from a financially literate person, the importance of a good, simple plan, right? Because one of my favorite financial books is The Psychology of Money, from written by Morgan Housel, right? And he talks about the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, right? And it's crazy to me how that formula, keep it simple, stupid, applies everywhere. Right. Whatever you're going to do, make sure what you're doing is simple and focused, right? So this is such a good place where you can apply that, because I've seen how just from other people, and then me personally running the numbers myself. Y'all that know me, y'all might not know that, but I'm good at math. Right. So I do math equations, all right? So I add it up. So just from buying stock, preferably weekly, but as often as you can, contributing to your 401k, and you get a pension. That is super simple. That's 3 things. That's really only 3 things. And then if you want to get geeky, save some money too. Like which you should. It shouldn't be getting geeky. You should just be doing that.
For sure.
But you can do those 4 things, and over time, it may not seem like you're putting away a whole bunch of money, but the compound effect of those things is remarkable. It's a tremendous thing you could do for yourself. So being here for 28 years, how have you seen that plan work out with your own eyes?
As far as the simplicity, I would advise people the same that they advise me. And the thing is, we started by saying the most important thing is saving money. These are just different avenues of saving money that offer different results. Mm-hmm. The 401k works a different way than the stock works. Then your savings account works, or anything else. So I think I'm sorry, what was the question though?
So how have you seen that work out for people?
Okay, yeah. I think basically a foundation is to the point where you have a nest egg where you can expect to leave out of here with a certain basic amount, right? Not basic, substantial, you know? I think the important thing that you said is this is a substantial amount of money that we make. You can take your 10%. I'll chop a check up. You know what I'm saying? Every check that I get is chopped up. You know what I'm saying? It's going somewhere and spent before I even have a chance to do what I want to do with it. You know, whether that's my bills and my responsibilities or investments. But I think you have to make that a part of your plan. I think you already got to have a plan, like you said, for your investment before you even get to cash in your hand or money on your card that you want to spend. And I think it works out. The 401k is kind of like a longer term final result. The stock is kind of like an immediate thing. But the thing that's really attractive about the stock is even though it fluctuates probably more so than any other aspect, you got dividends. So, you get a substantial amount, and now you're kind of you're getting a amount 4 times a year that even if you ended up losing in the end, you got to calculate the money that you've been making just on being the owner. You know what I'm saying, for it? And then I think all of these things are, like I said, it's about saving money, but now also it's about the accessibility to that. Life happens, so you might need to get in your 401k. You might need to use some of that money. You might want to invest some of that money. You might want to start your business with something. How accessible is that? You might want to, you might need your stock money. How accessible is that? So I think it's like how these things work for you, and then how accessible they are for you. I think is some important components or things to look at about it. But I think as far as the basics, like I would just advise everybody, especially young people, man, us at the job, man. Like I've done all this. Everything I've done has been aside from everything that I've invested. So
okay. Because I remember when I stopped investing in my 401k. It was I was trying to do something, and I was like, I got a whole bunch of money in my 401k. Let me just go pull something out of here. Yeah. So that's important, as you say, like, how accessible is it? Yeah. Because it kicked me in the teeth, like, you can't have that right now. I'm like, what you mean? So it let me know that I was ignorant of some things. Like, okay, I was familiar with the investment vehicle, but I was still ignorant. I'm familiar but ignorant at the same time. So then it made me be like, okay, well, I also need to be invested in things that are liquid. So for people listening, if you don't know what liquid means like something that you can touch immediately, right, whenever you need it. Right. So things like the 401k, that's not a liquid asset for you. Right. Stock is a more liquid asset than the 401k is. There's less rules and restrictions for you to be able to access your money. But the most liquid money you have is the physical money that you save. Right. Right. So just a quick game for y'all real fast. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you gonna say something?
No, I mean, I was, but yeah.
It's okay. That happens. Yeah. That happens to you every day. Right. Sure. On the phone.
For sure.
So now I do want to move on to this book has been circling around, man. Right. We're about to talk about Meditations about Marcus Aurelius. Right. This is by far my favorite book, the best thing I've probably ever read in life. Okay. Right. And, me and you have talked about it, and then, you got Mike Peterson on it, right? Right. Speaking of, has he said anything about it?
He just told me it's life-changing. He said it's changing the way, he's thinking.
He thinks about some things? Yeah. Okay. This it? Nope, that's not it. Get my stuff together. Okay. So I do want to talk to you about some of the things that are in this book that, like, stand out immediately. Because some of these things apply to not just, like you as a person, but they also have something to do, like they can be related to like the job. Okay. Right. So, earlier when I was asking you about your influences here, like at the building, right? In the book, Marcus is talking about how, like the things he's learned from other people. Right. Like, he talked about like from his grandfather, he learned good character and self-control.
Right.
So who was somebody that you can, man or woman, it doesn't matter, but somebody that you look out when you look back at your life that you saw was an example of good character and self-control that helped you like adapt that into yourself?
My mother, definitely. First and foremost, as far as the character and the morality and just a way to go about everyday practical things with, without having an excuse or without feeling sorry for yourself and just really putting your best foot forward every day, which I think is important. Trying to think, and it's another thing like the job, man. There's so many people that contribute along the way. Obviously, our parents are the first people there. I think, besides her, I think I kind of, piece things, small pieces, took it from a lot of different places. But, yeah, I would have to say her, man.
Okay. So Marcus was talking about from his father, he saw integrity and manliness.
Yeah.
I used to hear Donald, or not so much Donald, but I used to hear it like you could get fired for integrity on the job. Right? So I remember when I was reading this, right, I was like, wait, what? So even UPS is like, nah, man, if you ain't got no integrity, dog, you out of here.
Yeah.
And I thought, because, a lot of people a lot of people complain about where we work, right? But, me and D. Foss were talking about, like, this is, as terrible as it is sometimes, this is still a great place.
Yeah.
And you got to, like, that stood out to me. Like, no, UPS, like, they stand for integrity, though.
Yeah.
At the same time. So also, I want to ask you about, in pre-production, we were talking about you and Wilborn, how, you said when y'all grew up, it was just more of y'all just grew up more mannish.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean, dog?
I think it means man's man or traditional, old school men. I think men that look you in the eye, men that say what they mean what they say. Men that stand behind whether right or wrong, they stand on it. So yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
Okay, so one, y'all had to have got that from somewhere.
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
It just came from all the men, in my life. It's been my biological father died when I was 3. I did have a stepfather, as I mentioned, and he's that type of man. My grandfather, cousins. It's just, I think it was the socially accepted way for the men in my family and my surrounding to be. So just my environment.
Okay. I definitely like everything from character, self-control, integrity, manliness. All that comes from my father.
Right.
There's a little bit of Donald Jackson in there, because I've seen as far as like the character part, like seeing how Donald, like, as being the center manager and as the head dude in charge, like the type of character he walked around with.
You can respect it. He'll tell you, man, this is what it is, and if it happened, this is what's gonna happen. And when that proves to be true, if you find yourself on one side or the other, then you kind of got to look at yourself and like, where did you fall? You knew you knew what to expect, and you made a decision that you made. And I think that's the other part. Is we make decisions. Standing by them is not always easy. Sometimes the results are unfavorable, but there's things to be learned that's gonna further make you a stronger man, a human being. Period.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Something it's been on my mind heavy, man, right? And we were talking about the school systems, right? Because Marcus Aurelius' grandfather has said, what Marcus learned from his grandfather was, he said, avoid public schools, hire good private teachers, and accept the cost as money well spent, right?
Yeah.
So as somebody who, my son is he's in public school right now, but I'm thinking about the transition from after he gets out of elementary school to, make the move to like a charter school or a public school. Right. And so I do want to know about like your experiences, like your experience having, a kid in public school versus private school. And how was that as a parent? Like, what have you noticed?
Yeah, I think there's a social aspect. Well, both ways. I think there's a social aspect, and then I think there's an experience aspect. I think the public school social aspect is kind of, getting used to society as a whole. Which is, I'm not really even sure what to make of that, one way or the other, where to put my finger on it, whether that's a good thing or a great thing. I think it's important to understand how the world works in that way. So that's the value I would put on, like, public school. Obviously, we know the education system, especially in Las Vegas, is
different,
terrible.
To say the least.
So I think even more so. But just speaking to his point anywhere, I think, private school offers you a couple of things that I think are important. I was talking about relationships earlier. If you're going to private school, you're going to be going to school with people now that when you're in your 20s and their 30s, that their father owns this or their mother owns this or does this, kind of connected society. So, I think, whatever path you take, you're going to kind of know someone in a higher ups where you already got a relationship. And you got to be honest, man, that's how most of these things work. I know this person, let me get them in here, type of thing. That's really how the world works. It doesn't always get spoken. And then I think, to specialize or focus on education and behavior, I think it can only help because there's formative years. Learning in your 20s is very different from learning, from age 4 to 8, or a high school year. So there's different stages where we're able to learn, where our mind is more of a sponge. Then the older we get, then the less that is. So, I think I appreciate what he said, and I think it is money well spent. It's just it's so expensive that you kind of got to weigh, all the experiences. It's not just the school, your activities and everything. It's like a real lifestyle. But I think for anybody that does it is absolutely money well spent. Right. On the experience, like we were talking about earlier, like that experience is gonna, help pay dividends like far beyond throughout your life.
Because my first 2 years of high school, me and Q at the building, we went to the same high school.
Okay.
Went to the same high school twice.
What school?
So we both went to Bishop Montgomery. Okay. It's in Torrance, and it's anybody who knows where that is. That's like 2 blocks away from the beach, right? Okay. It's a really, really expensive private school, right? And I was able to get a sponsor to go there. Okay. So I remember just like being in this environment where 2 blocks away you got Redondo Beach, then you got Manhattan Beach, and then you got Malibu. Right. So I remember, the kids' parents there, like they owned car dealerships. They owned import-export businesses. Right. Some of their parents were actors. Some of their parents, these kids' parents did incredible things, things I didn't even know that was a job. Right. I didn't even know that was something that somebody could own and stuff, right? So then I just remember, going to friends' houses who lived in Brentwood, people who lived in Beverly Hills, just in Palisades, Palos Verdes. So I remember being exposed to greatness. I don't know any other way to explain it, just people who were literally getting the most out of life. Right. And then I remember after transitioning from that school to then Inglewood High School and Compton Centennial High School, and nobody's parents here do anything like that. we don't know what we're gonna, if our parents are even gonna be home when we get there, because they might have to work 2 shifts that day.
Yep.
So I definitely, reading that from, Marcus Aurelius saying that about his grandfather, like that stands out to me significantly, because that was my experience, getting to see, being in the place where people paid for the private education,
right.
and like seeing how that set them up. Because 98%, the first high school I went to, 98% of those kids who graduated went to college.
Right.
And the other 2% went to the military. So literally everybody who stepped out of this place went on to go do something. It was like, you're not just going to come here and then you can't.
Right.
And one of the things was like you had to, how sometimes like say your kid plays sports and then, if they don't have a certain GPA, you can't play on the team.
Right.
This was a place that you don't have a certain GPA, you can't go here.
Go to school.
You can't go to school here. So I understand what being in a place like that can do for you mentally.
And I think that's important that you hit on, because that's just expectation, right? What you just touched on. We can expect. I think if we expect more of ourselves, of our children, then we can. I believe in expecting more than just expecting less. Like I think people. I think when you expect more, that you're challenging yourself, steel sharpens steel. And I think when you don't have expectations, it's kind of like you definitely see it in people where as adults it's just like, man, more underachievement,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. So also he talked about how the things he learned from his first teacher,
yeah.
right? And I consider myself like an intellectual and stuff, right? So like whenever, especially me and you, when we talk about things, especially like, like deep things that require nuance,
yeah.
I try to like do like what Marcus Aurelius' first teacher taught him,
okay.
was when you think about something, not to take sides
right.
on something,
right.
how to have a balanced perception
yeah.
of whatever it is that's going on. Yeah. And that's something I struggle with, actually,
right.
like trying how like not to be biased in thought.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do. So like, is that something you good at?
It's something I'm working at. I mean, being objective is important for seeing the overall picture. And one thing I tell my kids is the best decision is a well-informed decision. People don't understand how important listening is to communication. They just think it's talking,
mm-hmm.
But I mean, listening or reading body language is just as important as spoken words as far as communicating. But yeah, I think it's important because we're all have a hypocritical nature, and based on what we know determines, if we're forming an opinion off a limited understanding, we could think we're right, or we could be right about what we know at that time. But if there's more information out there, that might change.
Right.
That might change our thoughts about it. So I'm all for. I mean, I think it's absolutely important to just understand as much as you can before you speak on anything. I try to, I mean, we shoot the stuff, man, amongst each other, and we just, shoot from the hip. But about certain things or serious matters, then yeah, I always listen more than I talk, just because I want to understand as much as I possibly can before I offer my 2 cents.
And that's something I'm working on, man. I'm working on the listening part. I don't think I'm a bad listener, but I definitely think I could be better, because you can't learn when you're talking.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you gotta shut up, man. You just gotta shut up and hear what's being said, because a lot of times this is, I've learned you can't overestimate or underestimate people, because a lot of times in my own personal experience, like somebody will say something really good, and then I'll be like, I was not expecting something like that to come from you.
Right.
Like, like for instance, Taurus, don't take this personally. Like Taurus is my boy.
Right.
But a lot, like when I was first, getting to know Taurus, I wasn't thinking that little short fat dude was gonna have a whole bunch of tremendous wisdom to come out his mouth.
Right.
And Taurus has said so many really good important things to me.
Yeah.
Like whether he knows it or not, usually I tell him. For the most part, I tell him.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, like what you said was really good.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of depth in what you said.
Yeah.
So I've been learning that, especially and having like people that are like, for myself, talking to people that are older than myself,
yeah.
that have more life experience and more knowledge, it puts me in a situation to where I got to shut up. Because it's kind of in line of another thing Marcus's first teacher said was, like put up with discomfort. Don't be scared of being in uncomfortable situations, because that's when like you learn stuff. That's when you grow.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of the times, like when I'm talking to you guys. Like you guys will be talking about some things that I don't have no life experience in.
Okay.
So it forces me to have to shut my mouth and just open my ears and just like, oh, well, I don't know anything about this. So I have to listen. Right. So do you find yourself in, especially where do you find yourself in situations like that where you're forced to like, okay, I have to be a listener here because like you said, you actually have a really good life experience of, being traveled and then, just being real rounded at things.
Yeah.
So what situations do you find yourself or being in certain groups where you like find yourself having to be more of a listener?
Yeah. I think if it's anything I'm interested in, then for sure I'm all ears. I think it's important to listen more than you talk just because even when someone with less experience can teach you something that you didn't know. I think, I try not to, I'm highly opinionated and I know myself. I got a lot of thoughts and opinions on things, so I try not to go around and pronouncing these things. I just, really just try to use them in situations where I feel like is needed or warranted or even wanted, Okay. I don't try to go offer advice or opinions to anyone, especially no one that's asking. But I mean, I like to see where people are coming from. Me and you, we do have a lot of good conversations, and I feel like you're a great listener in the sense that just being able to understand. Like, obviously, if there's a disagreement, if people don't agree on something or they have two different understandings of the same thing. Just to hear what it is, even in the moment, you might be like, man, I mean, you're going into it knowing what you know. When you leave from it, then you're like, okay, well, man, I know this, but this kind of struck me, or let me check into this, or let me find this out. So yeah, I'm not a person that wants to be right. I would rather get it right, So
right.
If learning something and not knowing today and having to be humbled by a conversation, it's okay with me. I don't have that much pride.
Right. And I think, from talking to me enough, one of my favorite things to say after I say my point of view is I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, man.
That's wise though, because there's a possibility. I think just accepting that right there is a certain level of wisdom, understanding, or intelligence, right? Because if you have to hang your hat on something, let it be about me or my experience. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to know. I don't have to hang my hat on nothing else outside of that. If it's me, then yeah, I'm about to hang the hat right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me about me, but you could point some things out to me, and that doesn't mean I still can't learn anything from someone. But I'm just saying that in matters of things, I've been proven wrong enough times to know that, man, like you said, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. I want to point something out when you were saying, we're all, kind of hypocrites a little bit.
Yeah.
I instantly thought of Wilborn, because, Wilborn likes to say, listen, y'all, I'm a hypocrite. He says it all the time.
Yeah.
But he acknowledges it, though. And that's one of the reasons I love Wilborn, man, because whether he's right or wrong, he's like, hey, man, he's whatever it is, this is just what it is, man. And I'm probably wrong for feeling like this, or I'm fucked up for feeling like this, or wanting it to be like this, but this is what it is, though.
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He stand by it all. So, man, I love that dude for that.
For sure. So now I want to talk to you about some some Marcus was talking about just like human life, man. I want to talk to you about like some, you know, like some meaningful stuff as far as like life meaning and purpose and stuff like that, because I think this type of stuff will, like the philosophies around these things actually could help people at the job that we're at, right? Especially as far as like mental attitude and dealing with the stress in life. Okay. So Marcus is talking about how, you know, having the view that life is momentary. Yeah. Right. So I like to tell like drivers when they have like problems in the building and stuff, like, hey man, like, okay, today was a bad day. Yeah. But you have to come back tomorrow. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have the same problem tomorrow as you had today, because nothing is the same. Life is ever changing, right? So do you find that something that you either like keep in the back of your mind, or just something that you're aware of every day, especially with the job, when something that's frustrating pops up?
Yeah. I think as far as the job, man, I'm kind of on autopilot. That's, you know, but I think as an overarching thing, I think it's important to be mindful that that's a simple statement, but it's a profound, powerful one. Everything is momentary, including life itself. You know, if you're having a bad day at the job, it's better than not being here to have a bad day. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And there's a possibility, you know, this is all sudden and momentary. So I think, and it's good to take it that way for better or for worse. So, and I think living in the moment is important. So I think with all those things being considered, that, you know, trying to enjoy good as much as you can, trying to rationalize or compartmentalize or place the negative or bad things is important, and just getting past, you know, what's in front of you when it's a challenge. You know, I think I try to slow down and bask in good experiences. You know, a hug or a good thought or a moment. I try to stretch those out, and then in tough moments, I try to learn or gain something. But I try to put it behind me, because, like you said, it's after the darkest night always come a brighter day, man. You're not gonna die from it. You know, you're gonna have to deal with it. And the comforting thing is, man, if we really just looked at everyone else to our right and our left, man, everybody's going through something. Right. You know, and some people, some of the greatest we read, you know, when you look at some of the stories of the people who have really made an impact on this world, man, they dealt with so much. That's why you had a respect and adoration or admiration for them, is because you're like, damn, man, you know, I thought something totally different. And all the crazy, fucked up things that they went through helped form them to be this great, incredible, amazing person, life story to tell. So,
And what's interesting about, you know, what you say, you know, when like living in the moment is powerful. Yeah. It's interesting to me how the truth is the truth no matter where it's at, and the truth is said in just different ways everywhere. Yeah. Because being in the moment is the same as at the PCM. When you in the seat, be in the seat. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. So that's very interesting. That's another Donald Jackson thing. When you in the seat, be in the seat.
And even in that sense, like, you know, if we just unpack what that means, it's just being aware of everything going on. You know, when you're driving, that's a particular time where anyone who's been driving a number of years, that you're kind of on autopilot, you're kind of subconsciously almost doing it, you know, and just being able to be aware in a moment could be the, you know, life or death, you know, could be the difference. So, and then also, you know, what you notice while you're out there. You know, if you're having a bad day, I've had a bad day, and I've seen a child walk into a restaurant with disabilities, you know what I'm saying, or something, that, you know, that automatically, like, you know, just being aware of things can make you understand, like, it's not that bad.
Speaking of, so now I do want to ask you, just before I get back to Marcus, I want to hear something that you've seen that was out there wild on the truck in the streets, because one of the wildest things I've ever seen was on your route. People heard me talk about the naked man. That was on. I was doing your route. And dude just answered the door, supremely inappropriate.
Man,
he was wearing some things, man. He shouldn't have had on, at least not in front of my face. So tell me about one of the things that you've seen that was wild while you was out there delivering.
It's a lot, man. I think the last thing I remember, I was on the phone with Mike Smith. I was going down Popular Park, and it's basically a park in between homes, like a miniature little park area. And so I see, like, and I think Tyrus had a similar experience. It's a baby that's barely walking in Pampers in the street around this park. And so I stopped the truck. I'm on the phone with Smitty. I'm like, man, what? You know what I'm saying? Trying to figure this out. I'm looking around. Do I see the parents? Okay. And I see, like, a sibling, which is like 2 or 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? 2, 3, 4. Around that age. So they're out running wild, no clothes on.
Little naked kids?
Yeah, well, diapers and then panties. You know what I'm saying? Jesus. So I'm like, okay. But I already got an idea just from, this is my route. I'm here every day. I already got an idea where it's coming from. You know what I'm saying? And I go to the door. I take the kids. You stop the truck, get the kids, walk down here. And I knock on the door. Now it's maybe an 8 or 9 year old, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if the parents here or whatever. Man, y'all gotta be. I don't know what's going on, but listen, this is the worst thing could ever happen in a number of ways. Y'all can't do this, And they kind of like just shut the door really quick, Just it wasn't a whole big thing, but I was just like, number one, if I'm not in the seat. That's the thing, but then all the crazy stuff going on with people and the things they do is just like, man, it was wild. That was a wild thing, and that's like the most recent thing. It's been a lot of things. I seen I was doing EAMs one time off of Charleston and Rancho, and I seen basically a car try to shoot the intersection, end up getting, smashed into a private building. And then, like, I was right there at the light. Like, it happened, like, literally in front of me, and probably maybe 15 feet away. Like, I see the person, like, almost look like they hyperventilating. Like, I, like, saw a person die. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, or, like, life will never be the same. So, and that kind of shook me up. But yeah, it's a lot, man, things that go on.
So question, when you see something like that, do they give you the day off the next day?
I needed the day. Alex was there, and Alex and Donna was there at that time, and I was just like, man, I was like, it was, I've seen people die before. I think, the nature of that and just kind of seeing them, like, it was something that it definitely touched me, and it messed me up.
See, I asked you that because I had a friend when I was younger. His dad used to drive trains in L.A. He was a train driver in L.A.
Okay.
And I remember one time there was a dude that just like laid down on the tracks. And, trains it takes like a mile for them to come to a complete stop. And I remember him saying, I remember his dad telling the story. He was like, and it actually something that happens a lot actually during that job. And he was saying, whenever you see a person just like lay out on the tracks, you just, you get up and you gotta lead a cab because you just
I already know what it is.
You don't want to see it. And I remember he was off for like 3-4 months. Because it does something to you like mentally. So that's why I asked you. I was like, if you see somebody go through something like that, it would be hard to go back to work the next day.
It was EAMs. Like I went back to the building. I was like, man, I need the rest of this day off. And like I said, I've seen a lot of things, but I think just the way that hit was different, and I was a little shook, man.
Okay, I haven't seen anything like that yet.
Well, hopefully you never do.
Okay. Oh, damn, we've been going for like an hour and a half. Okay. So there's so much I want to ask you still.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to be respectful of your time. Okay. So let me wrap up by asking you, this is a new question.
Okay.
Do you think you left an impact at UPS? And if you did, okay, so not only do you think you made an impact at UPS, who else, like during your time here, who made an impact on you? Like, who would you say is the one person that has made like an impact on you? But I want to start with the first one though. Do you think you've made an impact here? And what type of impact do you think you've made here?
Yeah, I hope I did, and I think I hope it's one that that was made on me. Just an impact as a way to visualize like what UPS could be for us. It's a game to me, and it's a tool. They talk about work-life balance, and I appreciate that they even mention it, but we don't know how. I mean, business is its own thing. For them to be successful, it requires certain things that can't consider others. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as I hope that I just help make it easier in any way. I hope I gave somewhat of some parameters as far as like, just maximizing it, the experience, making it less difficult and more enjoyable. And then I got real relationships, there's so many people. One person I was thinking of while we was talking is Pee Wee. There's so many relationships that I have in pockets, Mm-hmm. There's some people that we talk to every day or more so than dominantly. And then there's so many relationships and situations, people that have come help me, people that I've had to go help. There's so many things. So yeah, I can only hope. I really can't speak to it, but I wanted to be a good younger brother, I guess, so to speak, for lack of better terms, and I wanted to be a good big brother,
Right. Y'all, if y'all hear my little puppies, my dog just had puppies, so they over here rummaging around. So if y'all hear them, please excuse them. All right.
Frisky.
Yeah. So definitely, I wanted to ask you because I wanted your opinion, but 100% you've made an impact here. And I am one of those people that you have impacted.
Right on.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. So, I want to give you your flowers. Definitely. Man, you was one of the first people I noticed where it was like, all right, if I'm going to try to model myself after somebody here, he's one of the first people I saw, dude. I was like, all right, man. Yeah, he's got something I like, man. So.
That means a lot.
Yeah, so definitely you did that. Right. All right. So, hey, Al, man, thank you for giving me your time, man. I appreciate it. It was a great conversation like I knew it would be.
Yeah.
And eventually, man, we're going to have to come back and just like have episodes about the stuff we've read.
Okay.
Right?
I'm with it, man. Yeah. It's an honor and a privilege, man. I really like what you're doing, man. Hats off to you, dog. Like, we was talking about investments earlier, and like I said, I think the biggest investment that we can all make is in ourselves, and I really appreciate what you're doing, man. I see the strides that you're making with it, and keep doing your thing, man. It's beautiful.
For sure. Appreciate it, bro. Yep. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for listening, man. We'll get back with you soon.